of Constantia, or you live in the most dangerous part of Soweto, if you ask anyone in South Africa, would you like to feel safer? Every single one of them will say yes. To me, I'm like, that's why this is this universal thing we need to just go after. And like the repercussions of making us safer, cleaner spaces is a huge impact. It'll affect education, it'll affect the ability for people to become entrepreneurs, which affects businesses, which affects every walk of life.
To rise and stand firm. Our clinics, our schools, and our government services must serve the citizens of this land first. We respect all humanity, but we cannot continue to be sidelined in our own country. In 1976, our heroes fought for political freedom. In 2025, we fight for economic justice, dignity, and rightful access to the opportunities meant for us. We will reclaim our streets, our jobs, and our future with unity, strength, and unshakable determination. Power to the people. Power to South Africans.
From the Brics. During the summit in Kazan, Putin received the prototype of a 100 Brics bill featuring the flags of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa on the front. The most striking part, on the back appear countries like Mexico, Egypt, and Nigeria, nations not yet members but already shown as potential allies. This bill has no legal tender value, but it sends a clear message: the Brics are aiming higher. The initiative reflects the desire of these emerging powers to create a common currency for international trade. They seek a new financial order less dependent on the United States and its sanctions. Are we witnessing the birth of a new economic era? The bloc has spent years discussing how to break free from the dollar, and this bill might be the first step. It's no coincidence this appears just as global geopolitical tensions are rising. The symbolism is powerful and the message is clear: more sovereignty, less dependence. Although there's no official currency yet, the movement is already stirring debate in the markets. What will happen if the Brics actually succeed in launching their own currency?
Is already crying. Let's break down the facts. Brics has now officially grown into a powerful group of 21 countries, creating a big shift in global influence. Also, Brics has passed the G7 in economic size and making up 40% of the world's GDP, while the G7 now makes up less than 29%. As Brics gets stronger, its members are trading more with each other and relying less on the US for exports. In reaction to this, Donald Trump said he would place 100% tariffs on any country that joins Brics, but many say it's already too late. Even the trade between Brics countries has already passed $1 trillion, showing how strong their connection is. Moreover, Brics is also working on launching a Brics physical currency where one brick is equal to 24 US dollars. And now, 159 countries are planning to use Brics' new payment system, which could reduce the world's dependence on the US dollar. This is a major change, and the world is watching closely. Stay ahead, stay informed with Worldwide News.
The G7 was born out of the chaos of the 1970s economic crisis, when the oil shock sent shockwaves through the global economy. In 1975, 6 major industrialized nations, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the US, came together to tackle these pressing issues. Just a year later, Canada joined, expanding the group to the G7. Their mission? To foster economic cooperation, manage global challenges like trade and energy security, and coordinate policies for shared goals. Over the years, the G7 has adapted to tackle new threats, from climate change to pandemics, proving its vital role in shaping international economic policy and promoting collaboration among the world's leading economies.
The G7, or Group of Seven, is a powerhouse of advanced economies shaping global policies. Picture this: Canada, a founding member, influences discussions with its unique perspective. France and Germany, with their rich histories and economic might, drive European and global agendas. Italy adds its flair, while Japan brings cutting-edge technology to the table. The UK, with its deep-rooted economic significance, and the US, one of the largest economies, round out this elite group. Plus, the European Union joins in, ensuring that European voices are heard, even if it doesn't hold the same power. Together, they tackle pressing global issues, making the G7 a vital forum for collaboration.
Saudi Arabia may become one of the most influential countries in the world by 2030, but only if their plan works. In 2016, the kingdom announced their Vision 2030 strategy, which in a nutshell are plans to diversify their economy away from oil. And it includes some of the most ambitious projects the world has seen in a long time. I'm sure we all remember this one. But since MBS's announcement, just listen to the moves that they've made so far. In the last few years, they bought significant shares in Amazon, Google, Visa, Microsoft, Disney, Nintendo, Uber, PayPal, Zoom, etc. They recently won the bid to hold the 2029 Asian Winter Olympics, which they'll be hosting in a yet-to-be-complete $200 billion luxury ski resort in the desert. They recently signed the most followed man on the planet, Cristiano Ronaldo, in efforts to strengthen the country's chances of hosting the 2030 World Cup. For perspective, that signing took Al Nassr's Instagram following from 800k to a staggering 11.6 million, and he hasn't even played a game yet. Messi recently became their tourism ambassador. They bought Newcastle Football Club in 2020. 4 days ago, reports came out that their investment fund bought the WWE. Venture capital in Saudi Arabia grew by 72% last year alone.
We've already been told about certain individuals, and it's only now that we're starting to see it all come into our awareness. Q. We have to keep going back to Q, and there'll be one day where one journalist steps out from a major publication where they go, let me actually see through this. Donald Trump puts out a post about Adam Schiff. Dan Scavino puts out a post about Adam Schiff, and so does General Flynn. Adam Schiff is now the talking point. Donald Trump has just posted out and he said, just out, irrefutable proof that Adam Schiff approved plan to leak classified information to damage Donald Trump. Well, we go back to Q, and some people are unaware what even Q is, a military operation. 2017, 8 years ago, it says blunt and direct time. Adam Schiff is a traitor to our country. He's a leaker, national security, evil. And it says, I hope the 7.8 million was worth it. These people are corrupt. Then it says, sorry, Adam, the game is now over. It doesn't end here. And it says, it takes time to remove and install the right people. We are ready. This one was in 2020. That was 5 years ago. Donald Trump has had to do a whole clear out. The whole country had to see Joe Biden come in and see how bad it was compared to Donald Trump's first term. Donald Trump has now brought in all the right people, and now the information can come out because we can trust the sources that is being provided to us is in the hands of the people that have the responsibility and are doing it to make America great again. And if you now pay attention to the names that we're hearing about, it says the Democratic Party leaders, the big five. You got Nancy Pelosi. We're starting to hear about her and her husband. Adam Schiff. Now we're hearing about it. Chuck Schumer, who's been mentioned a few times by Trump. And then there's two others, Jerry Nadler and Dianne Feinstein. And we will hear about them too. Q's been telling us for many, many years, putting it all out there, and people have awoken to this information. But it's only now where it's being shown to the masses. People are now ready to receive this information because we've had to be taken on the journey. It wouldn't make sense any other way. But if we can then go back to see that it's already been put out there, means that we're in full control. It's just another confirmation, but it means we're moving into the direction of Pfizer. And Pfizer equals a start, and that's where the dominoes start to fall. And there's no getting away from the truth coming out then.
Make sure to follow to see part 1 or 2. The first thing I see is the USA users being banned from TikTok, but then quickly, potentially, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, maybe one of those or all those may go down and follow suit at some point soon, the way the internet's going. I see alligator Alcatraz destroyed by hurricane or major storm. Be prepared, maybe. Tens of thousands flee the UK before winter, because they see things going downhill, and or the weather's just really bad. Maybe they're, I don't know, let's see if it happens. Trump bit vanishes from public for I feel like a couple days or a prolonged period. May or may not happen, again, just predictions. I see homeless camps being bulldozed, like on the media, so let's see if that happens. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And the blame games begin worldwide. So this topic deserves its entire own video. So maybe I'll make that in the future. So make sure to follow if you want to see that. And make sure to follow Bookmark to see if I'm right. But here's what I see. The first thing I see is synthetic food being pushed for poor people, while the rich people are the only ones that can afford organic. And this deserves a whole other video, but we'll get into that in the future, so make sure to follow. Next, I see the crypto bear market with a 50 to 95% falls over 2026 and maybe into 2027, as well as the stock market, some of them down 80%, some of them never recovering, just a change of market. Also, gold and silver going down up to 50% potentially over the next couple of years. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, just predictions. Some countries experience currency collapse because of all this, or hyperinflation, hyper devaluation, whatever you want to call it. Universal basic income becomes available in many countries because of all this.
Greetings, Patriots. Welcome to 1776 United, and we are in a worldwide and galactic revolution. Now, I've been getting a lot of people asking me, when the EBS is happening, when the NESARA is happening, when are we going to be getting some money? When are we going to get paid here? When the revaluations happen? Okay. All the countries out there, including United States, Commander Trump is cleaning out Washington because it is a hub center for not just corruption, but absolute satanic trafficking of all different matters. Okay? That has to be cleaned up. All countries have to have their countries cleaned up before they can revaluate, because right now they're devaluated. Okay? They're devaluated because there is the powers that are out there, or were out there, that now have been removed, and it clears the way for whatever's left inside that corrupt country to be cleaned out. So this is why they're working on Iraq so hard right now, and Sadani, working with the Trump administration, is cleaning up all the filthy corruption. Trump said, you have until the end of August to get this shit cleaned up, or we're going to come in and physically remove the corruption out of there. And that means these Iranian imams that are in there and sending their espionage spies in there and doing whatever they're doing to try to disrupt and stop and to slow down the revaluation of the dinar. The same with Vietnam. They have to clean it up. But there's some really, really good news. There's a list that's out there right now, and I just don't think the whole 209 countries are going to go at the same time. That's not what God wants. God wants to give every person a chance to get in to the prosperity that's coming. I believe that Iran or Iraq, maybe Iran, maybe even Venezuela, whatever. But we're seeing Venezuela, they put a $50 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro, which is the most corrupt leader in the Western Hemisphere right now, by having, sending in laced coke with fentanyl into the States, trying to, kill the Americans from within. And he's going to be taken out. He's standing on his podium screaming and hollering, come and get me, come and get me, cowards, and all this other shit. Yeah, well, don't worry about it. We're going to be there. You're going to be taken out real soon there, fat boy. So, that being said, we're going to see a lot of this stuff, and these countries, their corruption going to be sucked out of them. Okay? And once they are, okay, then we can rebuild. And I can explain, as a structural engineer, when I go in to do a property or build on a property, I have to make sure that the ground has been thoroughly cleared and dig down to make sure all the organic debris and, dirt and crap is out of there before I can set my foundation to build this new building. And it's the same thing with all these countries. The countries are the same thing. Now, going back to this long list of 209 countries all being reevaluated with the currency being reevaluated. And that's great, but I don't think it's all going to happen at once. I just don't, I can't see it. How can they do that? Each country's going to have to come out of their corrupt state of affairs individually. Everybody's going to do it on their own time. Now, the ones that I think are going to go first, which are going to be cleaned up first, will be Iraq, Vietnam, and possibly Indonesia. Okay? Maybe a couple of other ones, but these countries right now have been coming onto the spectrum, coming onto the world stage as the front runners of these first basket reevaluating currencies. Okay, so I've invested in Vietnamese dong. And that was my choice. Now, when I believe Vietnam is a sleeper of this currency, because they're in the business that they do, or even the corruption that they have, they take care of it internally. They do not spread it on the world news front. But from what I understand, what I see, what's going on under the shadows and behind the curtains, is they are internally cleaning up Vietnam, and they will be. I think they're almost ready to go even before Iraq, but I think they're going to wait till Iraq makes that move. Now, like I said, if I repeat it again, or said it before, I'll repeat it again. Trump has given Sudani till the end of August to get his corrupt Iranian emails and spy espionage bullshit cleaned up, okay? Because they're the ones that are still, putting fires on this revaluation of their Iraqi dinar, okay? So he's given them till the end of the month to do this. Now, when that happens, you're going to see Iraq, Vietnam, possibly Indonesian rupiah, and a couple of more be reevaluated. Now, anybody that has invested in those particular currencies are going to take advantage of that and get their money reevaluated, hopefully through a redemption center, right? It doesn't mean that all of them are going to go at the same time. And in fact, it can't happen that way, because this is not what God wants. God wants all the good people, no matter if they're awake or not. They have a good heart. And they're poor, but they still give. And, God watches over that. Through Space Force, that's being watched very closely through all kinds of chitter chatter that goes on through the internet, right? All that data is being collected. They know who the good people are. And they're going to give all those good people, poor or not, a chance to get into the game as far as having all the new monies revaluated. Now, what's revaluation? Well, devaluation was having money, all the monies on the currency, starting with the United States back in 1971, devaluated and going off the gold standard. Like they're not basing the value of their currency on the amount of assets they have in the ground. Okay? So all this is being changed, and the 13 and the Committee of 300 and all these other clowns are being taken out, and this influence by them is all being taken out. Now, there is currencies. All the currencies that are out there are going to be tied to the Ripple or the XRP. They all have codes. Every currency, paper currency, has a code that is tied to the XRP and Ripple. This is a great indication that this whole thing's being tied together. Now, with all this being said, each country that comes out of their corrupt state of mind and influence is through dirty politicians and side deals and being influenced by other countries, is going to stop. And as they do stop, okay, then they will be able to put their money or base their value of their money based on the economy and what they have in the ground, okay, or even on the ground. Let's take Colombia for example. Everybody drinks coffee in the world. They have some of the best coffee beans in the world. Even Brazil does too, in the world. Okay, I love Brazilian coffee. It's probably the best on the planet. I can't find it so much. It's very hard to find, and I got to travel a long ways to get some Brazilian beans, inside the Philippines. But I do it because I like that coffee. Now, those two countries, you can invest in that Colombian peso or the Brazilian peso, Brazilian whatever it is, right? Because of the amount of people that drink coffee on the planet. When it gets reevaluated, their peso is going to go, the Colombian peso is going to go from 4,000 to 1 to maybe 2 to 1 or 1 to 1, right? Because they can base their money on the value of what they have on the ground or in the ground. What does that do to Venezuela? Well, their bolivar, which was now 14,000 bolivar to $1 American, is going to be now maybe 3 bolivar to $1 American, right? It's the same with the Vietnamese dong. They're the biggest holders of silver on the planet. Iraq, the biggest sweet gas and oil on the planet. They have an unlimited amount of raw product. And Vietnam, their technology and all the silver that they hold and the amount of technical, what do they call it, the chips that are being used and all the other advanced technology that they're doing with these, even with the electric cars and electric, I'm going around the Philippines and all I see is these little electric vehicles on 3 wheels and with one seat there and maybe 2 seats in the back. They're just taking over everything. They're going to be maybe the new way of transportation from getting from people from city to city. Cars will still be there, yes. But I'm seeing that this is being, these little electric vehicles are only 60,000 to 70,000 pesos, which is, I don't know, it's like $1,400 Canadian. And that's, that gets them a vehicle. And that's easy for a Filipino to afford. They can't afford 2 to 3 million pesos for a car. And those little vehicles need silver and all this other conduit shit to keep them running. And if they go into mass production, which is being produced not just in Vietnam, but in the Philippines and then in Japan and everything else, they're going to need that asset so they can rate their currency on the amount of precious metal or assets that they have in the ground or what's on the ground. I mean, even stuff that's being grown. So you have to look at a country that, what it has to offer as far as trade commodity. Zimbabwe. Anybody that's holding the Zimbon or the new ZiG is a very wealthy person right now. They just don't know it. The Zimbabwe will go from a impoverished, slave-indebted country to the richest country on the planet that will have such an abundance of gold and other precious metal assets, not to mention all the rubies and diamonds they got, to where they will be able to lend and give money to the poorer countries. That's how much assets they have. And they're ready to do it. They're ready to lend money out to help build the planet. There's so many good people out there that are waiting for this abundance to happen. Trust me, it's coming. What we have to worry about as a human species is to have our heart, giving heart, in the right place and get very close to God right now. Because without your heart chakra, and your love for not just your own body but for others, without that, none of this works. All right? Mark my words. First is God. Then comes the abundance. Okay? From there, that will determine how much wealth and prosperity and fortune that you'll have in your life based on your loving, giving heart. All right? Bye for now.
Is absolutely the truth. What happened the second day? The second day, the crown prince and the king both submitted publicly control over Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump. And how do you know this? Because they publicly held the sword dance ritual, which is a very, very big deal to the Muslim culture. And only the king holds the sword. And during this festival, of which, you know, we've got the images here, who's holding the sword, who's at the center, who's at the very center at the top of the podium, and who everyone else is around in support of. Donald Trump is holding the sword. He is at the center of the stage. This is Saudi Arabia publicly capitulating. And in one of the photos that we have, it shows the Saudi king, and he looks like he's about to die. He's in so much pain at what's going on here. And that's it. Because it was very fresh for them. They just handed over the keys to Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump. And that happened in the summer of 2017. That's step number one. After the declassify of this documentation via the NSA, this was step number one. Saudi was the big player that they needed to get on side. So what is important to note is that where Trump went next, he went with Saudi as part of his team. So you need to understand, it's not just that he didn't go there and take them down and that they're never going to do it. No, they're now working for him. They're earning credits towards their own salvation and their own not being as harshly punished as they could have been, and all the rest of this. We'll see how that all plays out. But they're part of this team. They're part of the Q plan now. You need to wrap your heads around this. And the new crown prince that replaced Al-Walid was bin Salman, and bin Salman really stepped up and became a key player and did a lot of things to help Donald Trump, and we're going to get to that. So that was step number one. Step number two, and then the days that followed, Trump left Saudi Arabia and went immediately to Israel. Okay, do you remember how angry most of you got when you saw those pictures of Donald Trump at the Wailing Wall in Israel, and confirming all of our worst fears that he was a Zionist tool?
After the video that I put out yesterday, a few people commented in YouTube that how can you be so naive? Trump is a Zionist tool. Yep. He's in there with the Zionist regime of Israel and all this. That seems to be one of the main bugbears that people have with Trump, and it seems to prevent them from giving him any further credence because they just write him up as a Zionist puppet.
Right, and folks, let me burst your bubbles here a little bit. This whole thing with Israel being the linchpin and being the real kings behind this, and that these Zionists, none of it's even real. You're just going to see it's all fakery, it's all subterfuge. There is no such thing, and sorry, this is going to probably offend some people, but there is no such thing as a genetic Jew. There are lots of Hungarians and Poles and Czechs and Germans and Jews are just like us. They come from all over the place. But there's no genetic race called the Jew. Israel is Colleen calls it the ultimate Trojan horse. It is subterfuge. It is designed to take you down a rabbit hole, and there's no getting out of this rabbit hole because none of this really exists. Okay,
just like they're playing the black card right now.
Yes,
they like to play the Jew card.
They play the Jew card. So they invented all of this with Jews, and then the bad Jews, Zions, and I just feel terrible for all these people that have been dragged into this, that are innocent and beautiful people that truly see themselves as Jews, and that they're oppressed and they're hated by everyone, and now they're just being used by the Phoenicians. He's not a puppet for the Zionists. There are no Zionists. Remember, folks, there's just the Phoenicians. There's just those 13 families, and they're very smart and they're very good, and they created this ultimate Trojan horse subterfuge of the Jew being a literal creation, just like, you're going to hate this, but Jesus Christ being an actual, Swiss-looking white dude in the Holy Land 2,000 years ago. That didn't happen. They're just lies everywhere. So Trump went to Israel and he sat down with everybody in front of the camera and behind the cameras, the people that are really in power, and he laid it all out on these minions. I'm talking to you, he said, not who you try to present yourself to be to everybody else, but I'm talking to you, minion, Netanyahu, and everybody else who is a child eater. This is for you, and you have a choice to make here. And Trump they were balking at him, even though he showed that the Saudis had signed over, and the Israelis were balking at Trump and were not prepared to sign over, and that's why Trump stayed an extra day, and they finally capitulated. And Trump was not going to leave Israel without them capitulating to him. And the sort of the how do you know moment is after visiting the Wailing Wall, Israel publicly submitted allowing the United States to move their embassy to Jerusalem, JERUSA, LEM. To move the embassy to Jerusalem with the Americans' military protection. So this is symbolic. It is a symbolic act to show who has the power, even in the Holy Land, with the Jews and with these Zionists who are in charge of the sacred truth about the Jewish heritage and tradition. That's why it was done. It was only done for one reason, just to be a symbolic act to show those who had eyes to see it that Trump had now taken down Israel. They submitted. Step number 2 of the journey completed. Saudi Arabia, Israel on board. So where would he go next? Who are the 3 big players? Saudi, Israel, and then the Vatican. So days later, he shows up at the Vatican, and he presents to Pope Francis a massive, apparently the folder was absolutely huge, and handed it over to them and said, take your time, have a look-see, and put your red shoes on. Apparently Trump kept making little digs at Pope Francis about his red shoes. Yeah, you might want to put your red shoes on when you look at all of this stuff, and you might want to wear your red shoes when you come back and give me your answer. So that's what Trump is saying. I'm not leaving here until you sign some documents for me. And we're going to get to why that was in a sec. But it took the Vatican that night, and the next day they capitulated to Donald Trump. And there is a very famous photo in that summer of 2017 with Trump at Vatican City right next to Pope Francis. Pope Francis looks like he's been run over by about 60 semi-trucks. Donald Trump has a look on his face that is a mixture of victory, joy, and mischievousness. Like he knows he's committed a big act here. So Trump has a massive grin on his face, and Pope Francis looks like he's had both of his eyes punched in by about 60 thugs. He looks so horrific. And they symbolically signed off. Now, what did the Vatican have to do to sign off? You see, the Fed is controlled by a certain group within the Catholic Church. Who went forth and spread the teachings of Christianity? The Jesuits, because they're holy men. No. The Jesuits are the real mafia, my friends. Every little group of mafia in every single town around or across this vast earth, every little mafia pays homage to this particular group in the Catholic Church. They are in charge. They are the true mafia, and they were in control of the Fed. So Trump did not leave until Pope Francis issued a papal bull announcing that by a certain date, the Vatican Bank, which was in charge of was the head executor, the exchequer of all of the earth-wide Federal Reserve banking systems in each country, would be handed over to one Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump is not, Mark, just the executor, the exchequer of the U.S. Treasury and therefore the Fed within the United States. He is the exchequer for Earth. He is the exchequer for the treasuries for every single country on Earth. That's what I told you earlier. No human being in history has ever been more powerful, owned more things, or richer than Donald Trump.
Charlie, let me ask you where this leaves the Rothschilds, because this is what we hear about the Rothschild family. They are said to be in control of the central banks in every country around the world. So where are they left in all this?
Brilliant question, because at this meeting, that just cut the legs off at the knees of the Rothschilds in London. So London was the financial arm of all of this. Washington was the military arm. Rome was the central brain, the core. They call it the spirit, but it's not. It's sort of the central brain of this unholy trinity of power. And what they did by doing this is that, so Trump's thinking is like the CIA, the Rothschilds, and the financial district of the city of London is too evil. It's too far gone. Don't even want to work with them. And he's not. He circumvented them. Like the crucifixion in the human physiology, you can't get through Atlas, the 33rd vertebrae, so you have to go up and around. Trump went up and around the Rothschilds, who are really a nasty, evil piece of work. So the city of London in the summer of 2017 had and I'm talking about the real city of London owned by ultimately the Phoenicians, but ruled by the Rothschilds. They had their legs cut off at the knees, and they have not been a real player ever since. Ever since, Mark, they have not been a real player. All of their power was cut off, and they have been forced to do some really humbling things over the last 18 months, in particular, by POTUS. So you want to know about the Rothschilds? They're just still looking for their legs from the knees down. So that was step number 3, and so now you see the 3 main arms, or the 3 main geometrical pillars of the pyramid, this evil, unholy pyramid, have now all been controlled. Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the Vatican and that's where his first 3 stops. Now, when Trump left Rome he flew directly to Brussels, and you all know the two big players that are in Brussels. You have this European Parliamentary for the EU, and then you also have NATO that just happens to be in Brussels as well. And Trump called the meeting. They were all there, all of the political heads, along with their finance ministers. And then all of the behind the scenes individual players were all there for this. And Trump apparently very famously, he called everyone together for this meeting, and then he purposely came late, and he made them just sweat it out. He made these pieces of dung in Brussels sweat it out because they didn't know quite what to think and what was coming. So Trump makes them wait. He walks in late. He throws this big folder on the table, and he said, "We have it all. We have it all. What's your answer?" That's what he did. And he played just incredible hardball with the EU and NATO. And in short order, those little rats, those little cowards, they all capitulated in very, very short order. And there was a whole bunch of things that occurred in the following days from there, including the EU backing down on Brexit, and NATO having to, step up and basically pay for the bulk, and all of these different nations instead of the United States having to fund all of them. It's not like that's a big deal in terms of saving money or anything. No, it's symbolic. It's symbolic. You're going to pay for NATO from now on. We're not, because I'm in charge. I'm the boss, says Donald Trump, and you do what I tell you to do. So when the photo op came for this famous meeting in Brussels, Trump again came late. And so all the film crews are there, and all the cameramen are there, and all these heads of both the EU and NATO are there, and they're all under bright lights, and they've got their fancy suits on, and they're all sweating like crazy, and Trump is making them all wait, and he walks in late, and he does not acknowledge any of them, and he's kind of whistling when he comes in and stuff like this. And then he just shows to everyone who was there that he was in charge of the meeting. He disseminated the information to the press. He said what was going down. He showed them. He came in late, and then he left. And he owns the EU and NATO. And that's it, folks. That's why they've done everything they've done ever since. Now, in October of 2017, there was an attempt on the life of the new Saudi crown prince, this bin Salman, who replaced Al-Walid, and was helping Trump. We're going to get to how much he was helping Trump in just a sec here. And that this little operation that was set for him in Las Vegas was taken down at the last second, and he was protected. And and from then those Al-Walid so there's conflicting reports whether he's still in custody or he's been exterminated now for this little indiscretion from behind the scenes. But yeah, so they had a plan to do that. Now, what happened at this Las Vegas battle was when bin Salman was saved by the U.S. military through the intel received by the NSA, and then given to bin Salman by Trump. He was asked to take on an even bigger role, and he agreed to do it. He basically was saying to Trump, anything, my brother, anything, my brother. So what happened next? The next thing is that staying in the United States is that on Trump's behalf, bin Salman went to all of the major corporations, and in particular, the media companies, so Google, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft, all of these main companies were all targeted by bin Salman. And on Trump's behalf, he visited all of them. And of course, this is all verifiable. I've got all of the documentation, all of the imagery. showing all of these meetings taking place in late October, early November of 2017. And this has been Salman essentially helping Trump to do all of this work for him. And he went and he visited all of these puppet heads for all of these puppet companies, and he basically read them the riot act and showed them the documentation that the NSA had on all of them, and basically said, you play for Team Trump, and Trump is now in control of these corporations, or declass. All of this information will be declassified one by one, and each one of you will be offered up to the masses as a child murderer. So they all capitulated, and there's the money shots of all of these various heads of all of these various companies, including Jack Dorsey for Twitter. So all this stuff that's been going on lately with the censorship of Trump by Twitter, it's all part of the game that needs to be played out for people to get angry and to wake up to what the heck is the evil that's going on, and to say something about it and to do something about it and begin to change their lives. So
the global landscape is shifting dramatically. Powerful groups and individuals are under scrutiny like never before, and as more information comes to light, we're gaining a clearer picture of the complex dynamics at play. This transparency is crucial. It empowers us as a global community to engage more meaningfully with the issues that affect our lives. Understanding these dynamics isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's essential for our safety and well-being. By staying informed, we can navigate these complexities and make decisions that prioritize our security and stability in an ever-changing world. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time today. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you. Remember, your support makes a huge difference, so if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It helps me create even more content that you love. I'm excited for our next chat. There's always more to explore together. Until then, take care and see you soon.